Hello, my friend, and welcome to Under Moon and Stars Sleep Stories, where relaxation takes us to cozy, sleepy places. My name is Shelley, and I'll be guiding you into a peaceful night's rest. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Shortly, we'll find ourselves exploring the heart of a countryside farm, the kitchen, where Thanksgiving preparation is underway. Calm, unhurried, and reflective, where there are no expectations, only loving anticipation of the friends who will arrive later to share this evening of gratitude, where time lengthens like the shadows of sunset, stretching to make space for peace. Before we explore the welcoming wonders of the farmhouse, let's first relax our bodies for a moment and prepare them for sleep by using a 4-7-8 breathing pattern, switching to our parasympathetic nervous system, responsible for calming the body and performing restorative functions and sleep. I'll keep track of the counts quietly so you don't have to. When you're ready, close your eyes. If there are sounds or busy thoughts, that's okay. That's normal. Just acknowledge them and let them drift into the background anytime you notice them. Let's begin with focusing on the feeling of your belly and chest rising. As you take a deep breath in, 1, 2, 3, 4. A pause at the top of the breath, 3, 4, 5, and then a long exhale, 1, feeling your body letting go and sinking into whatever you lie upon tonight. Breathe in, 3, 4, and pause, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and a long exhale where your body is heavy and relaxed. Again, a deep breath in, 3, 4, a pause, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and a long breath out. 4, 5, 6, 7. One more time. A deep breath in, 3, 4, a pause, 3, 4, 5, 6, and a long breath out. 3, 4, sinking deeper. 6, 7, 8. Good. Enjoy this feeling of release and relaxation. Now, return to your regular breath and let your imagination bring you to the entrance of the cozy countryside farmhouse. The sun's setting rays decorate the dust motes, where gratitude for friends and delicious smells fill the space, and the rhythm of preparing a loving meal stretches time. The front door opens to a soft hush of warmth, a gentle sigh that folds the farmhouse into itself, like a sigh of welcome. Sunlight streams through tall windows, spilling across polished wooden floors in ribbons of amber, scattering like liquid honey over warm beams and the faintly glowing surfaces of autumnal decorations. Each beam of light seems to linger a moment longer, tracing the edges of the room as if noticing your presence. Dust motes drift lazily in the air, catching the light in suspended arcs, tiny sparks that float and spin without urgency, weightless and free. From somewhere near the hearth, A candle flickers softly, sending shadows that stretch and curl like slow dancers across the walls. The scent of the house is a layered symphony: dried wood warmed by the sun, the subtle sweetness of simmering spices, and the earthy perfume of autumn squash and fresh herbs resting on counters. On the windowsill, two cats lie curled together in the setting sun's embrace, one white with decorative splotches, the other sleek and black as midnight. A few fallen leaves from the orchard outside have found their way inside, drifting there as if carried on invisible wings, their copper and gold edges glinting in the sunlight. They stir faintly when a breeze slips through the slightly ajar window, brushing against a teacup or rolling across a polished tabletop with delicate grace. Every surface seems alive with quiet attention, the bowls of ingredients resting in gentle clusters, the knives and spoons catching stray beams of light, the oven door holding a warm, steady glow, like a heartbeat beneath the countertops. Even the smallest objects appear aware. A rolling pin, smooth and pale, gleams faintly, as if it had been waiting just for this moment. A pie dish reflects the sun in a soft halo, promising sweetness and warmth. Time here moves in its own rhythm, unhurried and expansive. There is no hurry, no expectation, only the slow, deliberate unfolding of light and shadow, scent and warmth, motion and stillness. The farmhouse is a quiet vessel, cradling this space between day and evening, between preparation and gathering, between the known and the whispered possibilities of the days ahead. In this moment, every corner, every beam of light, every drifting mote seems to say the same thing. Here, presence is enough. Here, the warmth of the house and the soft glow of anticipation create a sanctuary. Here, comfort, gratitude, and quiet wonder are allowed to unfold naturally, like a gentle tide brushing the edges of the hearth and the heart alike. The kitchen hums with a gentle living warmth, the kind that feels like an embrace rather than heat. It is a space suspended between quiet industry and soft reflection, glowing with late afternoon light that slides across the countertops in languid strokes, like a brush dipped in melted gold. Every surface carries a soft sheen, as though touched by some benevolent shimmer that settles only on days like this. A pot on the stove murmurs in slow, steady breaths, its steam rising in pale ribbons that curl upward as though drawn to some unseen melody. They drift toward the ceiling, dissolving into the fading sunlight like vows whispered into the dusk. The fragrance is rich and comforting. Rosemary, sage, slow roasted vegetables, warm grains, a whisper of cider. Each note blending into a scent that feels like belonging itself. You move through the kitchen with unhurried ease, setting out ingredients, brushing flour into soft clouds that settle over your fingers like winter's first snow. A wooden spoon rests across a mixing bowl, its handle warm, its grain glowing as though it remembers every holiday that came before. The bowl, the counter, the folded linens nearby, everything feels touched with a gentle expectancy, the kind that deepens the quiet rather than disturbs it. There is joy in these small movements. Smoothing dough with the flat of your palm, slicing apples whose crisp scent rises like a bright, sweet memory, arranging herbs so fresh they seem to hum with some hidden vitality. Nothing is rushed. Each task unfolds the way a leaf drifts to the ground, inevitable, graceful, entirely content to go at its own pace. As you work, your mind drifts to the circle of people who will gather here soon. Friends who feel like chosen kin. Family whose laughter fills the house without weighing the air. People who understand one another, not through perfection, but through presence. Preparing for them never feels like a burden. It feels like weaving a tapestry of warmth. Each stir of the pot, each slice of the knife, each set plate, adding another thread of intention. A single candle flickers quietly near the kitchen door. Its flames steady one moment and gently swaying the next, as though following some unseen music. The wax glows from within, warm like a held ember, and its light pools onto the wall in soft, living shapes. The shadows it casts aren't sharp. They drift in slow, fluid motions, rising and curling like memories warmed by time. They move in a way no other light does, with that intimate shimmer that only firelight can offer. Sometimes the flame elongates, stretching itself upward like a small wish. Other times, it dips low, settling into a soft golden pulse. Each flicker paints the room anew. The gentle arc of a bowl, the curve of a chair back, the faint gleam of a jar of spices. Every object seems momentarily touched by something compassionate, its edges softened, its colors deepened, as if the candlelight is reminding the room of its own history, its own quiet purpose. For a moment, the farmhouse seems to radiate from the inside out, and in that glow, gratitude unfurls again, slow, warm, effortless, like that candle flame leaning into the air. In the corner of the kitchen, just beyond the edge of the stove's warmth, the little window nook waits like a secret, tucked into the farmhouse's heart. A teapot sits on the small side table, its porcelain rounding into a soft shine, steam whispering from its spout in thin, wavering ribbons. The vapor drifts upward, curling and uncurling, as though tracing thoughts that haven't yet formed words. Sunlight from the faded afternoon still lingers there, held by the old glass panes as if reluctant to move on. It slides across the steam, catching and bending through it, scattering it into tiny, shifting prisms. Dust motes hover in the amber glow, slow-moving constellations, drifting without urgency, each one turning gently as though suspended in honey light. The cushion by the window still holds a soft imprint of where you briefly sat earlier, and the faint warmth of it seems to hum quietly, like the last note of a lullaby that hasn't quite faded. Outside the window, the edges of the world begin to soften as twilight approaches. But for this moment, the nook feels suspended between hours, its own pocket of stillness, steeped in warmth and steam and memory. Here, the farmhouse seems to lean in around you, exhaling a gentle calm that pools in the quiet spaces behind your thoughts. Gratitude blooms without announcement, quiet as a smile forming from within. Just beyond the bubbled glass window pane, the farmhouse yard is scattered with autumn leaves. Gold, copper, red, muted greens, all caught in that tender in-between light of late afternoon slipping into dusk. Every so often, one leaf lets go from a high branch and drifts downward in a slow, spiraling fall, turning gently as though reluctant to land. The breeze that carries them isn't strong, it's soft, wandering breath that stirs the leaves just enough to make them glitter in the thinning light. Some catch on the window frame, fluttering like small, trembling hands. Others gather in drifting patterns across the yard, forming swirls that seem almost purposeful, as though the season is sketching shapes for you to notice. For a fleeting heartbeat, the leaves appear to shimmer, not bright, not loud, but with a quiet gleam that comes from the last threads of sunlight catching the edges of every turning blade. It's the kind of glow that feels like a secret, something the world offers only to those already wrapped in its gentler rhythms. You stand there for a moment, watching one leaf float down with such softness it feels like time is holding its breath. The beauty of it settles into you, not dramatic, not grand, but tender and honest, like gratitude arriving in small, steady waves. The dining table waits nearby, its wooden surface catching the last amber glow of sunset through the windows. You lay out a simple cloth, smoothing it with careful hands, watching how the light pools across it like water, settling into a calm pond. More candles stand ready to be lit, their wicks like tiny gateways to softness. A vase with late autumn branches rests at the center, scarlet leaves curling like quiet flames, dried seed pods rustling faintly whenever a breeze stirs the room. Somewhere deeper in the house, the floorboards give a soft, settling sigh, as though the farmhouse itself is listening, holding space for the gratitude that settles around you like a warm, invisible shawl. Outside, the last notes of sunset begin to melt away, and inside, you feel a quiet fullness rising, not from the food, but from the simple delight of preparing something with love. In the hush of this gentle work, you sense it, gratitude shifting like a soft tide within you, washing over memories, smoothing the edges of the day, gathering itself into something tender. Everything feels connected. The warmth of the kitchen, the glow of the soon-to-be meal, the people who love you, the quiet contentment that rests gently in your chest like a small, steady lantern. And for a moment, time pauses just enough for you to breathe in the sweetness of it all, letting it settle into you. The kitchen seems to gather closer around you now, as if the walls themselves lean in with a quiet fondness. Warmth pulses gently through the room, not a heat that overwhelms, but the kind that feels like soft hands cupping your own. It's the warmth of shared meals, of long-remembered holidays, of stories soaked in the beams and floorboards over generations. A gentle glow lingers over everything, as though the light itself is feeling sentimental. It settles along the stove, turning the metal into a muted bronze. It drapes across bowls filled with ingredients, giving them halos of color. Russet potatoes with skins like earthy velvet, bright cranberries piled like glossy rubies, herbs gathered in small bundles, with leaves that curve like tiny green feathers. The scent in the air deepens with each simmer and stir, At moments, it's rich and savory, like the memory of a beloved dish. Then it shifts, something sweet unfurling through the warmth, the scent of apples releasing their brightness into the room. There's cinnamon, too, drifting in thin, invisible spirals, wrapping itself through the air like a comforting arm across your shoulders. You drift between tasks, though nothing feels like a task. Each movement feels quiet and wholehearted, as if the room has slowed time just for you. When you rinse vegetables, the water glints with the soft light of early twilight, droplets catching on your fingers like tiny stars that refuse to fall. When you knead dough, it yields with a plush tenderness, warming under your palms as though grateful for attention. On the counter, a bowl of spices sits open, colors blooming like sunset in miniature. Amber turmeric, deep paprika, sage with its downy green softness. When your hand brushes over them, a faint, almost imperceptible wisp of aroma arises, as though the spices breathe for a moment, sharing their own quiet stories. A cutting board waits, its wooden surface worn smooth by years of gentle use. As you slice through vegetables, each sound is soft and steady, like a heartbeat echoing through the room. The knife moves with a rhythmic calm, and the pieces gather in neat, colorful piles that look almost like autumn leaves arranged with care. Steam rises from a pot on the stove, drifting upward in delicate spirals that seem to twist with their own subtle intelligence. For a heartbeat, the vapor shimmers, tiny spark-like flecks catching the light before dissolving into the air, as if the kitchen is exhaling its own soft magic in gratitude for your presence. The farmhouse clock ticks lazily on the wall, its sound muffled by the thick warmth of the room. Every now and then, it seems to pause for a fraction of a breath, as if it too is admiring the glow of the kitchen, the peaceful rhythm of preparation, the quiet anticipation that curls at the edges of the moment. On the windowsill, jars of preserves catch the fading light. Amber jams, garnet jellies, golden honeys, each glowing from within like tiny lanterns lit for some gentle festival. Outside, the last traces of sunset linger, blurred and softened by the slight fogged warmth of the window glass. The world beyond the farmhouse feels far away, hushed, letting the kitchen become its own pocket of unhurried tenderness. As you stand in this small universe of warmth and scent and quiet motion, a soft awareness settles in here. How comforting it feels to prepare something for people who bring ease into your life. Gratitude rises again, unforced and unhurried, like steam from a warm dish. Something natural, something that drifts from the heart without needing any coaxing. The kitchen feels alive with it, the very air shimmering with a sense of welcome. Every bowl, every folded cloth, every flicker of light seems to say, "You are safe here. You are cherished here." And this moment is exactly what it needs to be. Twilight gathers around the farmhouse with a tenderness that feels almost intentional, as though the evening has slowed itself to watch you prepare this space. The kitchen's warmth lingers at your back as you carry plates and linens toward the dining room, each step quiet against the old wooden floorboards that seem to hum with a faint ancestral comfort. The dining table waits in the softening light, its surface touched by the last color of day, the glow slipping in through the windows. Isn't quite sunset anymore, more a gentle afterbreath of dusk, brushing everything with lavender gold. Shadows rest like soft watercolor strokes along the table's edges, warming the room with their quiet presence. When you unfold the tablecloth, the fabric drifts down in a slow, graceful sigh, settling across the wood like a first snow that melts into perfect stillness. It catches the twilight glow in gentle folds, making the surface shimmer as though it remembers every meal shared here, every laugh, every soft pause of gratitude. You move with an unhurried rhythm, placing each plate in its own little halo of fading light. Porcelain gleams with a muted softness, nothing bright or demanding, just the calm, familiar luster of dishes saved for moments that matter. Silverware follows, catching tiny glints from the candle stubs waiting to be lit. Each piece reflecting slivers of color, like drifting stars finding their places. Napkins are folded, not precisely but lovingly, creases smoothed with hands that know this ritual by heart. You tuck a sprig of something fragrant into each one, a clipped rosemary branch, a tiny curl of dried orange peel, or a single cranberry threaded onto twine. Small offerings, quiet blessings, simple symbols of welcome. The centerpiece waiting nearby is made of late-season branches and soft autumn remnants gathered earlier in the day. Their colors don't shout, they glow. Deep burgundies, warm rusts, pale golds softened by the oncoming night. They rustle faintly as you set them down, as though whispering their last stories before the season turns again. A soft hush wraps around the room. Outside, the sky deepens into an indigo that feels endless. Inside, the farmhouse holds its breath in that tender pause before candlelight is struck. The air seems to thicken with expectancy, warm and affectionate, like a memory settling into place before it's even fully made. You take in the scene, the gentle shadows, the softened glimmer of glassware, the way the table seems to glow from within, and a warm quietness blooms in your chest. This table will soon hold not just food, but company that feels like home. People who bring ease rather than strain, whose presence softens the world around them. For now, though, it is just you and the twilight, sharing this quiet moment of intention and love before the night unfurls. The living room welcomes you with the kind of warmth that feels older than memory. The fireplace has already been lit, its flames moving in slow, thoughtful gestures. Nothing hurried, nothing sharp. Their glow spills across the room in soft amber waves, brushing the furniture with a gentle molten touch. A quilt rests folded across the back of the sofa, patterned with colors that echo the season outside: burnt orange, cinnamon brown, deep pine green. It looks as though someone stitched not just fabric, but a sense of belonging into each seam. The fabric catches the firelight, turning its threads to tiny muted embers. The air is thick with comfort, the faint scent of wood smoke curling gently in the room, the warmth that settles into your shoulders the moment you step near the hearth, the soft creak of the floor as though the farmhouse is shifting into its nighttime breathing. You pause near the fire, letting its glow wash over your hands. The heat blooms slowly, like a warm thought rising in your chest. Shadows dip and sway along the walls, moving with the kind of easy grace that comes from flame light, never repeating the same dance twice, always drifting into new shapes. The mantle holds small relics of the season: pine cones lined in quiet rows, a bowl of polished apples glowing like dark jewels, a ceramic pitcher filled with dried wheat that rustles softly whenever the fire sighs. Everything feels intentional without being arranged, as though the room simply grew into this state of gentle invitation on its own. A soft armchair waits by the hearth, its cushions dipped slightly with familiar use. You rest a hand on the back of it, feeling the fabric warmed by the nearby flames. The moment feels suspended, hushed, a brief sanctuary of stillness before the rhythm of preparation resumes. Here in this room lit by fire and fading twilight, the whole house seems to breathe around you. The preparations, the scents from the kitchen, the table set with quiet care, all of it now wrapped in the soft, embracing glow of evening. Gratitude drifts through you again, subtle as smoke, settling into every quiet corner of your mind. And in this brief, gentle pause, the night begins to open. The warmth of the living room lingers against your skin as you step back toward the center of the house, carrying with you the soft echo of firelight. The shift from the hearth's golden glow into the rest of the farmhouse feels like walking through a gentle threshold, one world slipping into another, each carrying its own hush. The kitchen welcomes you again, its earlier coziness deepened now by twilight. The windows reflect only the faintest remnants of color. Most of the world outside has settled into the dusky blue of early evening. Inside, though, warmth pools in every corner, as though the farmhouse has decided to glow a little brighter in anticipation. The dishes you prepared earlier rest on counters and wooden boards, their scents richer now, unfolding slowly into the air. Steam rises from a pot with the quiet confidence of something nearing completion, drifting toward the ceiling in soft, curling wisps. You lift the lid just slightly, letting the aroma spill out like a warm sigh. It carries spices and herbs and the promise of comfort, something that feels like a memory you haven't lived yet, but somehow recognize. You move through the kitchen with a gentle purpose, gathering the last touches needed for the evening. A basket of warm rolls is covered with a cloth that holds the heat like it knows the bread's softness is something to protect. A dish of cranberries catches the light of a nearby candle, its ruby sheen deepening as the flame wavers. A gravy ladle gleams quietly, almost proud of the role it will soon play. As you arrange each item, the farmhouse moves towards you, attentive. The floorboards give a soft, familiar murmur beneath your step. The clock ticks in its steady and hurried rhythm. The air grows warmer, fuller, almost expectant, as though the walls themselves are holding their breath in gentle anticipation of the warmth soon to fill the house. You bring the final dishes to the dining room, setting them near the center of the table. The twilight has now surrendered fully to the evening, leaving the room illuminated by candlelight alone. The flames glow with a soft amber steadiness, casting a quiet brilliance across the table and drawing out all the colors of the feast: deep reds, warm golds, rich browns, the occasional flicker of green. You adjust a plate just slightly, not out of necessity, but out of affection for the moment. Every detail feels like a small, deliberate whisper of gratitude. The table stands ready now, not extravagant, not elaborate, but warm and honest, a reflection of the love that fills this home. For a moment, you rest your hand lightly on the back of a chair, feeling the grain of the wood warmed by candlelight. In that small touch, a wave of contentment drifts through you, soft, unhurried, as though gratitude itself has taken a seat beside you before anyone else arrives. Outside, the night deepens. Inside, everything glows, and the house feels poised on the threshold of togetherness. The preparations are complete, yet the evening is only beginning. The farmhouse door opens with its familiar wooden sigh, and the cool night air brushes softly against your skin, a tender contrast to the warmth inside. The porch extends ahead in a wide, welcoming arc, its boards warmed earlier by the sun, and now carrying the faint memory of that heat beneath the chill of the evening. Lanterns hang from the beams, their light low and intimate, like small constellations choosing to rest closer to Earth. You step out into the quiet, and the world opens. Above you, the night sky spreads in an endless sweep of velvet indigo, deepening at its edges, softening at its center. Stars appear one by one, as though awakened by your presence. Tiny flames scattered across the heavens, each trembling in the cool air as though breathing with you. Some glimmer faintly, shy and delicate. Others burn with a steady, confident glow. All of them together form a vast, tender canopy stretching over the fields and trees and farmhouse like a protective hand. You stand still for a moment, letting your eyes adjust to the immensity above, and slowly, like a tide rising at night, the universe reveals itself. Clusters of stars shimmer in quiet conversation. A pale nebula blurs into soft strokes of light. Distant galaxies curl and spiral, so gentle they seem to be dreaming. The Milky Way arches overhead in a luminous drift, an ancient river of stardust, carrying stories older than memory, flowing silently above the farmhouse porch. The air is cool and clear, touched with the scent of late autumn earth and distant pine. Each breath you take feels crisp, clean, as though you're inhaling the night itself, letting its calm settle deep into your chest. The warmth from the house behind you lingers at your back, and the cool openness before you feels like an invitation, one that asks nothing, demands nothing, simply offers space to exist exactly as you are. You lean lightly against the railing, the wood smooth beneath your hand, and let your gaze soften into the stars. There is no rush here, no wait, just the quiet companionship of a universe that has always been vast enough to hold every sorrow, every joy, every quiet hope that settles at the edges of the heart. The sky above feels like a mirror, one that reflects not your appearance, but your essence, the calm within you, the gratitude that rises gently, the quiet belonging that unfurls in your chest like a warm lantern glowing softly from within. You feel the spaciousness of the universe and realize you carry a reflection of that spaciousness inside yourself. Rooms of tenderness, corridors of resilience, galaxies of love. The night deepens around you, wrapping you in its cool embrace. Tree frogs murmur in the distance, their song slow and steady. A single breeze drifts through the porch beams, stirring the lantern light just enough to make the shadows dance in a soft, rhythmic sway. And in this moment, this quiet, solitary pause before any footsteps approach the door, you feel held by the night sky, by the farmhouse, by the warmth waiting inside, by the future gathering at the threshold, by the memories woven into today's gentle preparations, by the people who will soon fill this home with laughter and warmth. And you feel held by yourself, your presence, your heart, your simply being. Thankfulness rises again, but this time it's different. It's softer, fuller, stretching outward like breath on a cold night. It settles into every corner of you, filling you with a peaceful glow that mirrors the starlight above. A sense of belonging spreads gently through your chest, warm and steady, as if the universe itself is leaning close, whispering that you are a part of its vast, shimmering tapestry, woven in, welcomed, unconditionally accepted. And as you breathe in this stillness, you feel the evening shift around you. Not a change of sound or light, just a subtle, tender turning. A sense that life, in all its gentle complexity, is offering something quiet and true. You are allowed to be here. You are welcomed just as you are. You belong in this moment, in this life, in the warmth of what's coming. The porch creaks softly. The stars shimmer above. The night holds you with infinite patience as you breathe, reflect, and rest in the fullness of this gentle, grateful pause. Soon, footsteps will come. Voices, laughter, warm arms around your shoulders. But for now, This quiet vastness is yours. A small sanctuary beneath a cathedral of stars. And as you remain on the porch, wrapped in the hush of night, you feel the world beginning to soften around you. The stars overhead drift into a slow, quiet shimmer, their light settling like a calm breath across the sky. The air grows still, warm at the edges, as though the universe itself is tucking you in. You release a long exhale, and with it, the last traces of the day loosen and fall away. Your thoughts grow lighter, quieter, drifting like autumn leaves, finding a gentle place to rest. The house behind you feels safe, a sanctuary of warmth, where every room holds kindness, every corner welcomes rest. The night sky stretches above you, vast, serene, unhurried, and you sense that same spacious ease unfurling inside you, soft and luminous. Gratitude settles through you like a warm blanket, comforting, steady, peaceful. You are exactly where you need to be. Nothing is asked of you now, nothing at all. With each slow breath, your body grows heavier, cozier, sinking into stillness. Your mind grows drowsy, the edges blurred and softened, like lamplight fading to a gentle glow. You feel yourself drifting inward toward a place of deep quiet, carried by the steady, tender rhythm of your own breathing. And as the stars keep their silent watch overhead, you allow yourself to drift slowly, gently, into the easy, welcoming pull of sleep. The world around you is peaceful. You are safe. You are held. And now you can rest. I wish you well. I wish you peace. Know that I am grateful for you.